Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live, the Extraordinary Advisor Show. My name is Ellen Rogin, and as always, I have fabulous guests to share information with you that will help you in every area of your life, especially your business. We have a really interesting conversation today about how to find a super niche in your business and why this is more important than ever. We have a really wonderful person that I met through a fabulous advisor that I know, and she's a new friend of mine, Nancy Hetrick. And let me give you a little bit about her background before we start digging in. Nancy Hetrick is the owner of RIA Smarter Financial Solutions, Smarter Divorce Solutions, and Divorce Financial Planner Training Center. She's a certified divorce financial analyst, a mediator, forensic specialist, and she assists divorcing clients in creating and crafting really great out-of-court settlements in a kinder, more gentler, more affordable process. She's over 20 years as both an investment manager in financial planning, and she's nationally known as a trainer for divorce financial planners, and she offers continuing ed and intensive training for CDFA certificate holders. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but she does all that. She's an author of Divorce Financial Planning, Building a Successful Niche Business, and Divorce is Not for Dummies, How to Cover Your Assets. What a great title. Nancy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's absolutely my pleasure. And I'm excited to talk to the other advisors out there.
Yeah, for sure. So this idea of creating a super niche for your practice, why do you think that's so important now?
You know, over the last, I would really quantify it as 40 years. And actually, no, maybe like 30. Our industry has changed dramatically. You know, when financial services began, we were the gatekeepers, right? We were the ones that controlled access to the markets. And if individuals wanted to participate in investing, they had to come through us. And so that was, the good old days of smile and dial and just let people know you were there. And hey, I've got access that you can't get anywhere else. Well, welcome to the 90s and the advent of the internet and discount brokerage firms that are now offering everybody that has an internet access to the markets at a click. And so it's changed so much that a lot of what we originally based our industry on, people don't need to pay for anymore. These things have become free. And in fact, we've seen just in the last couple of years, every major brokerage firm now is offering trading with zero commissions. So access to the markets is not it anymore. We have to redefine our roles for people and help them understand why they even need us anymore.
So why is a niche important in that process? Because I 100% agree. And that's why I think planning and interpersonal skills are more important than ever. But how does a niche or finding a niche help in the differentiation process?
Right. Well, along with that, internet trend has become this deluge of information coming at people on a daily basis, right? We're getting pummeled with billions of bits of data, and our brains are trained to ignore 98% of it. So in order for any marketing to be successful now for financial advisors, you have to weed through that and be giving messages that actually resonate with an individual person for a very specific reason. The traditional forms of advisor marketing are simply not working anymore. I just did an interview last week with, I believe it was Investment News, about the good old, dinner, the marketing dinner where you give a free dinner and you talk about annuities or something. And, they're just not effective like they used to be. We have to be able to define a very, very specific audience and be able to speak to them in terms of where they are, what their unique and different needs are. And that really then differentiates us from the crowd of traditional advisors that frankly are all putting out the very same messages.
Yeah, I joke over and over that having on your website, I am a trusted advisor. We value integrity.
Yeah.
Like, seriously? Okay, I hope so. And the clients, even if you think that what you do is so unique, like what you do, how you offer it, it's pretty opaque to clients. They don't get it.
Right.
They don't really understand the differences that you think are so different for them.
Right.
So, when I think back when I had my practice and when I actually first started it, I thought I wanted to work in the niche of really creative people. I come from a family of architects and artists, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to work with graphic designers and photographers and artists? Wouldn't that be great? And I was pretty young at the time. And as I got into it, I realized, yes, they're interesting and they have no money. So they weren't actually really good clients. How do you recommend that an advisor finds their niche or their super niche?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's, I think you and I have talked in the past about superpowers, right? What are you already good at? So if you're an existing advisor, look at your current practice. Who was just naturally drawn to working with you? That may answer some questions right there. Where are you already the specialist? I happened in my corporate life to be the manager of our tax team 4 years in a row. So I ended up kind of inadvertently becoming an expert on the tax issues related to investing. And so that was one idea for a niche. The other thing, when it comes to choosing a niche, there's really 6 different kinds of niches to think about. And some are more effective than others. Probably the least effective niche, not that it's a bad niche and you wouldn't want to choose it, but it's a little bit more challenging, is what we call an affinity niche, where people that just all have one thing in common. They're a tribe. So this might look like golfers, tennis people, and maybe even certain groups of employees like doctors, airline pilots, things like that. So that you can niche to that market, but it's a little more challenging. If you move across the spectrum, then to the more effective niches, they tend to be in the psychosocial division, which is going to be people in a specific psychological state, like divorce, like life transitions, like widowhood, things that they're going through as a collective, and they have very similar needs and very similar fears, frankly, because we have to spend a lot of time talking to those kinds of emotional topics in order to really connect with people.
Do you find that advisors are hesitant to do this because they're afraid that means, or to not only find their niche, but state it publicly because they're afraid that'll put off other people?
Yeah, I find it all the time. And in fact, one of the most comical things to me, and I see all the time in my training programs, is longtime financial advisors that usually have had their own experiences with divorce, whether it be their own divorce or a family member. And they're like, I really want to help people getting divorces. And so they come into my programs because they want to learn how to become, a really effective certified divorce financial analyst. And then as I'm working with them, they say things like, well, I know, but my time is limited because I still have to do all these traditional marketing things that I do for my wealth firm. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're kind of missing the point of creating a niche, right? When you find that niche, you go all in. And when you speak and put all your energies into the one population of people, it is amazing how much more business you will do than being out there trying to compete with every other financial advisor in your market. You get to actually now define yourself as the one solution for a very specific population. And since it's a smaller population, it's a whole lot easier to get in front of them, because now I don't have to market to the entire city. I get to market just to people in a very certain situation. So your marketing actually becomes much easier. And the other little surprise benefit is you actually don't typically end up marketing very long, because the community all talks to each other. So the referral marketing, it just becomes almost self-sustaining. And so it really does present a much easier way to grow a business with a lot less time involvement on your part.
Yeah. And so I want to come back to the marketing, but I'm just thinking about my experience with certain niches and certain kinds of work. I think it's really important that advisors also, even if you fell into niche, that you actually really love working with these kinds of people.
You have to.
Right. I remember years and years ago, I wrote an article on Horse's Mouth about working in the women's market, with, just to be clear, Nancy and I talked about this before we started the show. Women are not a niche. They're 51% of the population. So, there's different niches within the women's market, but I remember writing about communicating in the women with women, or how to work more effectively. And one guy wrote in the comments that he does not like working with women, and he can't stand how long it takes and the stories they tell. And he got some feedback that was less than positive from some of the other people reading the article. To me, I thought, how self-aware. Fine, they don't want to work with you either, probably. And I think that is something, even if it's super lucrative, you have to love the audience that you end up choosing to focus on.
Absolutely. And I would say to that too, especially with the divorce niche, because you're working with people going through one of the most emotionally traumatic times in their lives. And so it's really hard and it's emotionally draining. And if your heart's not in it, number one, you're not going to be successful anyway, and you're going to burn out and you're going to hate it. So one of the first things I tell people when they first contact me as financial advisors and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, I always say, why? What is your why? What's drawing you to wanting to do this work? And if their answer is, well, I've been a financial advisor a long time, I'm seeing the divorce rates among baby boomers, and I just think it's going to be a really good way to gather assets, I pretty much tell them quit right now. Because if that's your motivation, it will never be enough to carry you through to execute on all the things you're going to need to execute on. You have to have a passion for it. You have to have a passion for the population you're working with, so that you stay enthusiastic enough to maintain your own momentum and you continue to serve that population in new, innovative ways that are constantly changing and staying in tune with that population and how their needs evolve and change, because they do. They absolutely do.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought up that story, because that was me. Before there was any of the certifications for divorce planners, I actually worked with two partners in a divorce planning practice. We had been taught by someone who kind of really, I don't know, she was a pioneer in this. And my partners used to joke that I think that they're like, I think you're afraid they're actually going to hire us, because I found it was not enjoyable for me. They were in this traumatic phase that I wasn't comfortable sitting in. It might have been where I was in my life at that time. But what I realized is I love working with women who were newly divorced. Then I could really serve them. I felt passionate about that. So it was getting clear what stage someone's at, where you think you can add the most value for them.
Right. Absolutely. So, and, in my core introductory training, we spend a good time on defining your niche within the niche, because there's 10 different ways to show up in the divorce market. And you can actually choose, like you say, where's the perfect phase for me? Maybe I don't want to be involved during the divorce, but I really want to help them with the recovery process after. Well, what's interesting is there's a huge population of CDFAs that actually have a CPA background. They're not financial advisors. They're not financial planners. And they need partner financial advisors to do exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So I love, part of what I love about what we do is the ability to apply our own creativity to, I can make this look however I want. So let's think outside the box and recreate financial services in a different way that's far more customized to the needs of specific populations of clients. And it's a really affirmative thing, I think, happening in financial services right now, that I think women are going to have a big voice in, and we all have an opportunity to really recreate and embrace a new way for consumers to view our entire industry. And niching is really the secret to do that, is really showing our value in ways that we really haven't had to before.
So let's go back to marketing. So let's say, okay, you've identified your niche. What are some ways that you can get it out there in a way or communicate with people that might be in that niche, or people that deal with people in that niche?
Some niches are easier than others for marketing. So for example, I have a financial advisor client that is in Dallas, Texas, and she has, through the College for Financial Planning, the designation to assist government employees, federal government employees. So you've got your FERS employees, CSRS, some of those really unique benefits plans. So for her, marketing is frankly shooting fish in a barrel, right? They're all working for the government. So you look at your current employers, you partner with their HR departments to go in and do lunch and learn presentations. And so it's a much easier audience to get in front of. And then nowadays with social media, there are Facebook groups of those employees. There are LinkedIn groups of those employees. And even becoming part of their employee assistance programs where the companies are sending people directly to you. Once you have that specialty, you have the power to position yourself as the expert and to become the expert. The one thing that I would tell anyone is choose your niche and then become the absolute master. Double down on whatever it is you know about that population and learn twice as much. And become the expert in that niche where you can anticipate the needs of everyone that you come in contact with. And then you almost don't even have to market yourself. It just will become a referral business so quickly, it'll make your head spin. And you can do that by speaking and creating content and doing guest spots on internet shows and podcasts and getting it out there that there is an actual expert who can answer all the questions that you have as an individual looking at the rest of your financial life.
Two advisors that I know who've done a really good job of specialty niching have also done special reports, research projects. So one of them we've had on the show, Jen Dawson, and another one is going to be on in a few weeks. Jen's area are women attorneys, and she did a whole special report on the issues, financial issues of women attorneys. And she sent me a copy. It was beautifully laid out. It seemed well researched. And Jen is still someone in my network, and I know, but it was really easy for me to remember what she does and who she is because of, as you call it, a super niche. And also I was impressed with the fact she did this report. Heather Ettinger is another advisor who works with breadwinner women. So it's probably a big niche, but they have specific needs. She knows how she has to communicate with them. And she's also done research in that area. And I know Heather, I met when we both spoke at an investment news conference. So she's really known in the industry, gets a lot of PR, just came out with a new book because of this specific area of expertise. So I'm totally hearing what you're saying on that, Nancy.
Right. Well, and the big shift that has to happen, and this is a hard one, because if you've chosen to become a financial planner or investment manager, the whole world, right? We are inherently left brain analytical thinkers, right? We're the math geeks from school. We have a tendency to want to data dump. We want to tell people what we do, how we do it, and the step-by-step advantages to what we do. And no one cares. No one cares. So we have to reframe it into a meeting our clients where they are. What are their fears? What are they losing sleep on overnight? What are the things that they're worried about so that we can reframe our marketing messages into, are you someone who? Are you someone who fits this profile? Do you lose sleep at night over worrying about this and that and that and that? And so you get somebody to go, oh my gosh, they're in my head. Yes, that's who I am. We work with people all day long, just like you, to make sure that you can get the answers to these questions. Give us a call. That's it. They don't care what you do and how you do it. They don't care about the bells and whistles that you think you have that no one else has out there. Do you understand me and who I am and where I'm coming from? That's what people want today, because society in general, we've become so cold and sterile and technical that if they can find a human being to connect with on that level, instant trust building, and that's who they're going to call. So our marketing needs to switch from being that data dump to, I recognize you, and I am someone like you, and I would love to be the guide that you're looking for so that you can plan your own success. That's the other shift, I think. We need to stop thinking that we're the hero. They're the hero in the story. We're the guide. They get to be Luke Skywalker. Our job is to be Yoda.
That's great. That's really great. And I know there's some advisors out there that are thinking, yeah, but I do the same thing for my client. It's really not that different. But what I'm hearing you say is the way is to, yes, maybe like the plan may not be all that different, or your investment process, but what's really different is your understanding of what's up for that person, where they're at in their life. Right. And I think it's a really valuable exercise, as you've recommended, to spend time about what problems are these people facing? What are they willing to admit they're facing? And then what are they not really willing to admit until you get a little more, deep with them? And then what do you know is their problem that they don't even know is their problem? And I think that's just such a beautiful suggestion. So I heard you say that data dump, not good. Totally agree with. Are there other issues that you see advisors making that are mistakes when they're starting to work with a niche or going after a group of people that they want to work more with?
Yeah. And actually, you kind of danced around it just there in what you were saying. It's a common practice to choose a niche and think that what that means is to recreate marketing messages, and that's it. Advisors forget that if you're going to super niche, not only are you going to serve these clients as their advisor planner, but you have a responsibility to bring to them all the other peripheral experts that they need in their world. So for example, in the divorce niche, I have an absolute professional referral list of the best, most trustworthy family law attorneys and mediators in town, therapists, divorce coaches, estate planning attorneys, all the network of professionals that someone in that situation needs. And even more than that, as I got going into the niche, I became a certified divorce coach. I got a forensic credential so I could address certain specialty areas. So it's not enough to just speak to that market. You have to up your game. You have to say, okay, what are all the other services that market needs? And how can I be their quarterback to bring all that value to the table and really create a surprise and delight client experience? And that's where the success comes from. And then when you do that, crazy thing that happens is you start to get a whole bunch of clients outside of your niche, because the people that you help say, you know what, they're just so phenomenal. Hey, my sister, you need to go talk to this gal. My coworker, you need to go talk to this gal. So that fear that you're cutting off the rest of the market, completely and utterly unfounded, because when you build that trust and you really invest yourself in helping that population, they will tell all their friends and family about you. So it's absolutely a win-win on every level of the way it works.
That's so great. I do want to make one comment about when you were saying having the perfect other referral sources. And I know you mean this, and I just want to make a distinction that it's not just they're the most qualified, but they work well with your niche. So I worked with a lot of women that were going through transition divorce. They were widowed, and the estate planners that I worked with, they could be great, but if they were condescending or not talking in a way that served my market, they were not getting that referral. And it's not always easy to know that. Sometimes it was really helpful for me to sit in on a meeting, because someone could be great with me and not be condescending, but the second they got a woman
Right.
who knew less in front of them, all of a sudden they was like they were talking to their grandmother or something.
Right.
And that was not okay for my clients.
A wonderful point. And so I feel like it is my personal responsibility to make sure that if I refer a client to another professional, I absolutely know the experience they're going to have. So I do a lot of research up front. A lot of my professional referral sources came to me by personal referrals from other people that I know, like, and trust who did work with them. So you are correct, because when you do that, if somebody has a bad experience, now it becomes a personal reflection of me of, well, that's who you told me to work with. So we have to really form those partnerships together where we're like-minded about the clients we serve and how we serve them. And so the screening process is critical.
Yeah. Any last focus areas or tips that you have for our listeners or viewers of the show today, Nancy, to help them either identify their niche, grow their niche, get more clear, and grow their business?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a lot of resources out there. You know what? Let me just offer, if anyone wants, I have what's called the Niche Market Discovery Worksheet. And it's not something I created at all. I often like to, mine the world of resources that is available at our fingertips, but I'm happy to share with anybody. It takes you through a step-by-step process of getting clear on what would be the right niche for you. And it is an exercise. It's something that you really have to spend some time with thinking about. But what I would say is, don't be afraid to do it, because my fear for the entire financial services community is, if you fail to do this properly, you may find yourself going the way of the dinosaurs. With commission-free trading, robo-advisors to do asset allocation and investments, and you can even get a rudimentary financial plan for free on a mint.com or out of, Quicken Home and Office. We've got to reinvent ourselves. And so now's the time to do it.
Fabulous. Fabulous, Nancy. So Nancy, if people want to learn more about you, or get in touch with you for this resource sheet, or to learn more about the programs you offer, where should they go?
Feel free to email me directly, nancy@smarterdivorcesolutions.com, which is the divorce business. And I think you shared my contact information with my financial firm, which is smarterfinancialsolutionsaz.com. And by phone as well, 877-552-4017. But we're real responsive via email. Contact me anytime. And if you are interested in learning more about the divorce niche, be more than happy to do a free strategy session with you. Shoot me an email.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank all of you for tuning in today, listening to this really great conversation. I hope it's got you thinking about even niching down more, or a niche that you might want to explore. Again, my name is Ellen Rogin. And if you want to find out more about me, you can do that at ellen@ellenrogin.com. And if you go to ellenrogin.com/horse's mouth, you can download my special report, What Extraordinary Advisors Know That Others Don't. And remember to be great and create great every single day. Thank you. And we'll